Good afternoon and good evening. Welcome to today's IBK webinar, Beyond the Ordinary, Careers in STEM, also known as Science, Technology, Engineering, Arts, and Math. My name is Jawaher AlMutlaq. I have a PhD in Material Science and Engineering from KAUST, and I'm a recipient of Ibn Khaldun Fellowship. You may be wondering why our discussion tonight uses the acronym STEAM rather than STEM. In this discussion, it was important to us to include the A for arts, which also represents humanities and design. It is at the intersection of the sciences and arts that we find many of the most interesting questions of our time. Our speakers are all former IBK fellows who represent many research disciplines. It is exciting to see the impact of the IBK fellowship on people's careers. One of the things fellows gathered here tonight have in common is they've all ended up in leadership positions. I'm excited to hear how they found a way into out of the ordinary careers by moving beyond the traditional boundaries of their disciplines. Our program tonight consists of a discussion between our panelists, followed by a question and answer session where our speakers will answer your questions. Please post your questions in the Q&A feature as we go along, and we will answer them all at the end. First, I'd like to welcome Professor Kamal Yusuf Tomi, Professor of Mechanical Engineering at MIT and the Director of the Ibn Khaldun Fellowship for Saudi Arabian Women. Welcome, Professor Kamal.
Thank you. Yes, thank you, Dr. Jawaher, for hosting and for the introduction. I also thank Dorothy and Nadia for organizing, the webinar, and of course, our thanks and pleasure for our speakers today in this important webinar. Maybe just a word about the Ibn Khaldun program for those who are not familiar with it. So it was established actually when we started the collaboration with KFUPM, King Fahd University of Petroleum and Minerals. But this was way back in 2008. We admitted the first two fellows in 2012 with Aramco and the help of His Excellency Khalid Al-Falih. That the program was expanded, for 5 years until 2013. And then in 2018, the program was renewed for another 10 years. And this is now under the sponsorship of KAXT. And I'd like to thank, all of the people who were working behind the scene, in making the program continue. As of now, the program has been very, very successful, and we're very proud of our fellows, for not only for the work that they have done, while at MIT, but more importantly, I think what the contributions that they have been making, back in the kingdom, within their communities, and also in the research and development that they have continued when they went back to their institutions. So thank you all for being with us today, and I'm looking forward to hearing about your presentations and comments for today's webinar. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Kamal. Now I'd like to welcome our panelists this evening, Dr. Haleema Alamri, Dr. Malak Althagafi, Dr. Omaima Bamasaq, Dr. Sumaya Al-Solaiman. At this time, I'd like to invite each of our speakers to introduce themselves and tell us about their connection to STEAM. Dr. Haleema, would you go first?
Thank you so much, Jawaher, for the introduction. And it's truly a pleasure and honor to be here tonight with my brilliant colleagues and our amazing host, Professor Kamal, Dorothy, and Nadia. It's always a pleasure to connect with great people from MIT, and also our colleague or the audience joining us tonight. So my name is Haleema Alamri. I am a research scientist and a program leader at Saudi Aramco, the Research and Development Center. I am a polymer chemist. I have a PhD in polymer science from KAUST, and I've been in Saudi Aramco for almost 4 years. It's been really a very productive, alhamdulillah, and fruitful journey. And I'm here today to share some of the tools and techniques that help me really navigate through this journey with a very successful, alhamdulillah, career. And a big part of that is definitely through what I've learned through Ibn Khaldun and my one-year fellowship at MIT. So it would be really my pleasure tonight to share all I've learned with you. Thank you, Jawaher.
Dr. Omaima?
Yes, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you very much, Dorothy, Professor Kamal, Nadia, for organizing this wonderful webinar. And thank you for giving me this opportunity to share my experience in leadership at STEM. And thanks all the attendees for sparing the time to be with us. My name is Omaima Bamasaq. I am a full professor in cybersecurity. I am the Vice Dean of College of Computer Science and Engineering at University of Jeddah. And I'm also the Director of the Center of Excellence in Smart Environment Research at King Abdulaziz University. I am a former Ibn Khaldun fellow and a current visiting researcher at MIT. I spent almost a year and a half from September 2014 till March 2016 at MIT. During this journey, I've learned a lot. It has contributed a lot to my personality, to my perspective, to my knowledge, and then to what I've contributed back to my workplace and society. And I'm really pleased to share this experience with you all tonight. Thank you very much, Jawaher.
Thank you, Dr. Omaima. Dr. Sumaya?
Thank you, Dr. Jawaher. I also extend my thanks to the organizers, obviously Dorothy and Nadia, and also great to see you again, and thank you again, Professor Kamal. I am the odd one out, I have to say, right from the beginning, because often, you talk about STEM, and I kind of pushed the A in the middle somewhere so that, we have STEAM as in, arts and design in general. And for me, I think being an Ibn Khaldun fellow and having, that kind of background, initially I kept thinking, yes, I am the odd one out, but I found so many commonalities, I think, between all the different disciplines. So I'm really happy to be part of this panel tonight to talk maybe more about the things that unite us rather than, the things that, differentiate each discipline. So my background is, first of all, I started my bachelor's in interior architecture, then did a master's and PhD in architecture. I got my PhD from Newcastle University, and then I also did the postdoctoral fellowship at MIT. So with that background in architecture, I've had kind of diverse experiences, given jobs, that may or may not have, been suitable at the time. So I was, let's say, head of graphic design department, for instance. I was a vice dean for quality and accreditation, and later became dean of the College of Design, managing, 3 departments, which were interior design, graphic design, and industrial design. I'm also a former member of the Municipal Council, and that was, a very enriching experience, if also frustrating. And also a columnist in the newspaper, published a book of those columns, and I'm currently just over 6 months into a new job, which is being the CEO of the newly established Architecture and Design Commission, which is part of the Ministry of Culture in Saudi Arabia. So an exciting journey, I think, all throughout, with lots of diverse career paths, but then kind of, I think all of them joining in a job that I'm extremely happy to be in at the moment. So this is the short version of me. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sumaya. Dr. Malak?
Assalamu alaikum. Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Jawaher, for the introduction. Thank you, Dorothy and Nadia and Professor Kamal for the invitation. I'm actually not a former IBK fellow, but I'm from CAXT, and I'm also recently supervising this MIT IBK fellowship from CAXT side. But I have a connection with MIT, which is I was a recipient of the Young Investigator Award from the Arab Student Association in 2015 in MIT. I'm a physician researcher, so I graduated from medical school. Here in Saudi Arabia, I did my postgraduate in the US, specializing in pathology, neuropathology, molecular genetics. I'm also a researcher. I call myself a translational researcher. I study molecular genetics of human diseases, especially focusing on brain tumors. My experience as executive or leaders, it came from when now I'm the Director General for General Directorate for National RDI Coordination. And I'm also the director at CACST, and I'm also the director of Satellite Research Administration at King Fahd Medical City, where we have 3 administrations, the Genomic Research Department, the National Neuroscience Research Department, and Research Collaboration Department. Very happy to be here tonight and to learn from each one of you. And I know Dr. Sumaya liked to add the A to make it a STEAM, and I would love to add also the second M for medicine. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Malak, and thank you all. We're excited to hear about your out of the ordinary careers. To get started, can you tell us about someone in your life who inspired you to have a career in STEAM? Dr. Malak, could you go first?
Yeah, I'd like to say my first inkling that I would become a scientist or a physician, it came actually when I was hospitalized as a young child in the late 80s. I received my surgery in London, and then my parent told me they were going to take me to best genetic specialist in Saudi Arabia at that time, in Riyadh. So I sat waiting with other dozen of children in the clinics in King Faisal Specialty Hospital. When the specialist arrived, I was shocked because she was leading a group of doctors around her at the clinic. She dictated while scribbling furiously. Then in the late 80s, I asked, who's this doctor? And I learned she is Dr. Nadia Aoun al-Suqati, who's actually established one of the first genetics department in Saudi Arabia and even in the Middle East. It was clear that she had won the respect of her peers, both in the lab and in the clinic. And it was very exciting for me to know that she will be my doctor at that young age until actually I graduated from medical school. She refused for me to move from pediatric to adult internal medicine department. So she was part of my life growing as a child, as a teenager, as an adolescent, and then as a young physician. And then I was lucky to see her almost every month during this journey. This is really the reason why I wanted to be a doctor and why I wanted to study genetics. Jawaher.
Thank you, Dr. Malak. Thank you so much. I would like to invite all the panelists to share their stories about someone who inspired you to have a career in STEM. Please feel free to join as you wish.
So I might go next. So for me, I think the most inspiring person to get me into architecture was my uncle. He was an architect and still is. We had, I remember even as a child, going into his room and looking at, let's say, his equipment, the rulers he had, all the different things. And I thought, that was so, I don't know, it was intriguing in a way, because I thought, they look like, serious tools that I would one day like to, use myself. And growing up, talking to him about certain aspects of the city, the architecture in general, and even specifically just before graduating high school, he kept saying, you know what, I see something in you, and I think, you have it, what it takes, to be an architect. And at the time, the programs weren't really available for women. The only program there was the interior architecture program. And for me, it was this idea that I didn't really think that I could be suitable to this kind of career. But he saw something and it pushed me to, at least apply. I wanted it, but I thought, I had more of a business mind. I couldn't really see, I think, what I had or what he was able to see. And in applying, I actually had, first place. It was a very limited program at the time. I was so happy to join. And it really felt, in a way, as if, I don't want to say easy, but it felt natural, that yes, you know, this is the content, everything that was there, it completely suited me. I was more on the outside looking in, I think, into the profession, not really knowing exactly what it entailed. But it was him, you know, who really gave me the confidence to apply to the program and then, you know, kind of flourish in it. So I'm really happy and grateful for that.
Interesting. Anyone else?
Yes, I can go now.
Yes.
For me, there were like two persons who influenced and inspired me, my father and my husband. Since my early age, my father used to take me to the bookshop to buy books as a gift of the end of year passing with the high grades. So I just pick up the books that I wanted, whether it is science or literature. And then I read them through the summer vacation, and he used to discuss them with me, to ask me questions and to see if I understood them. And I used to go to his library at home to read books just randomly. I think that by that time, it built the scientist and the curiosity of learning and knowing and asking questions. And it really helped me and shaped my personality over to even taking the decision of specializing in computer science, where the time comes at high school, and computer science was very new. It was just a year before established at King Abdulaziz University. So I was among the first batch to go to that discipline, which was, as I said, it was completely new. So my father encouraged me to go there, and by that time I got engaged. So it was the turn of my husband to push me and to encourage me, even when I went to Manchester to do my master's and PhD. It was really quite challenging with the kids with me. And he inspired, he actually encouraged me to even apply for 5-star universities. And he told me, you can be there and you can succeed. And alhamdulillah, I did. So I'm really grateful and thankful for them.
Thank you so much. And we are also grateful for you, Dr. Haleema.
Thank you so much. I think my experience was a little bit different. So although I grew up in a family with a lot of engineers and medical doctors, and it seems to me at this early age that men are very successful somehow, whereas women do not really. I mean, I didn't see female scientists at early stage of my life succeeding as like the male in the family, for example. And that was really a big question for me. I remember I was reading a lot of books to see if does those women exist, like really women who can make a difference and be in pioneers in different fields. And I remember there was a book about a woman on the golden age, in the Islamic golden age. And I was really amazed. I remember reading this books for several times. And I think it always, even until now, it inspires me, because there was a great examples in our history where women really make a difference, and they were pioneer in different fields, and they were recognized for their efforts. So I think that was really a fundamental part of me growing up and trying to find examples in our histories and women who make big, huge difference in different fields. And some of them was very new. I remember reading about Fatima Al-Fihri in Tunisia, and she was the first woman to create universities, and how did she go about it? It was really a very interesting and inspiring way of seeing things from different perspective and in a younger age. So I think that was the big part of how I really was inspired that we can really be part of that momentum and create a difference. And there is a lot of examples that can inspire us.
Indeed. Thank you all. So you have all taken on leadership roles in your careers. Some key characteristics of leaders are vulnerability, resilience, and flexibility. Please tell us about a time in your career when being able to be vulnerable, resilient, or flexible was important to you.
I might jump in here.
Please.
Yeah, thank you. I think that's a great question, because vulnerability, I think, is associated a lot with weaknesses, and so if you show your weakness, so basically it might send the message that you're not, of leadership quality, that maybe, whoever chose you didn't make the right decision. And I think that's a problem that a lot of women perhaps even face more, just because there's always this idea that we have to prove ourselves. We're given a chance that is not, given to everyone. A lot of the leadership positions are given to men by default. And whenever a woman, gets into that job, there's always this idea, do I have to conform? So I think many women kind of lose, I think even, their femininity, they lose, their own identity by trying to prove themselves in a leadership position where they don't necessarily have enough female role models. I think, over the last maybe 5 years that changed, because I think, we see many more strong female leaders, I think, all around us, really paving the way in a way that is different. So I think, we have different leadership styles. I know that vulnerability as a quality, could be something that even a man displays, but I think it comes more natural to women in the sense that, you have more empathy with the people that you work with. And having, let's say, this freedom, or maybe not freedom, let's say, being brave enough to actually say, you know what, I don't know, I don't have the answers. That puts you in a little bit of a jeopardizing position sometimes. But actually knowing, who to say that to, I think is important. So, I mean, it's very hard to maybe, put everything in, that I'm thinking of sharing in words, because I mean, there's so many different, let's say, situations where you get to a point where, you just have to say, I'm out of my depth at certain times. Does it mean, you're doing a bad job? Not necessarily. I think, having the right person to reach out to might be really helpful in that, and allowing yourself that vulnerability as in something that is going to be a tool for you to grow. So yeah, that's just my 2 cents maybe now. And I'm really interested to hear from all the other panelists, and I might jump in at the end as well. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I can comment. Actually, I just want to say that whoever would be working with Dr. Sumaya is so lucky to have such a leader paving the way and having such a mentality. So it does make a huge difference to have someone who does really understand about paving the way for female leaders to really be part of this culture and leadership. I think if I want to talk about all the elements you mentioned, resilience is, I think, is one of the huge elements that really helped me navigating a lot of situation. And if I want to put this into context, I would say as a scientist, for example, you have a toolkit of different tools that you can use as a scientist to help you progress in your scientific career. Things like solving problems and critical thinking, and in other areas, for example, and other tools might be helpful in your communication styles, for example. But resilience is really a skills or tools that really emerges at the intersection of all domains. And if you master those skills and you learn how to apply them, you would really be able to navigate easily in different situations. And thus, I think it's a really critical element for people to understand and to apply. It's for me, how do you bonus back when you are in a stressful situation, and how do you learn to do that without really dwelling on the failure or blaming of yourself or others? So as a polymer scientist, for me, resilience is like the rubber ball. When you squeeze it, or it's very strong, it's changed shape, it's very flexible, but then it goes back to its normal shape once you release the stress. So flexibility and resilience is really important in anyone in a leadership position, especially females, to understand this concept and to apply it in all different aspects. So if you have the skills, really it will help you navigate, whether you're working in a stressful situation every day or working with difficult people, with a difficult character or difficult science. It's just a quality that is really very important. And I think flexibility is an essential part of it. So blending that, like you have to be persistence and looking toward your goals, but also you have to be flexible, change your approach, learn a new way of doing things. So I think one of the elements that I learned early at my career and helped me really move significantly is being resilient and flexible at the same time.
Thank you.
I could add more to Haleema's comment on resilience, because all the features are important for a leader: resilience, flexibility, and vulnerability. For resilience, I've experienced it myself throughout my career. It was all about challenges. So resilience, in my perspective, is about sailing through challenges, accept them, and succeed in them. It started when I got back from my PhD, and the college had just started, and it was a huge challenge for us to build the college with all the departments with a very few staff there. So we were working almost day and night with a new college, with the new programs, with the shortage of staff, to build the college, which has now, alhamdulillah, renowned in the kingdom. And given that it was, as you said, it was quite challenging for us as females in the discipline of computer science as well, to even find colleagues and even recruit people to come along and to work at the college. Then probably the most dominant example now is facing COVID-19. So being resilient in this area has been really challenging for us. All the education institutes has shifted overnight to online with all the teaching and the staff and the work. So it was very important for me to be to work around these challenges, to be near people, to listen to them, to support the student, to support the faculty, to navigate through these challenges, to provide the environment that they could work in, to extend even the working hours. So we almost worked till midnight to give the enough support in such a challenging area. So yes, being resilient is very, very important for being successful in leadership in STEM especially. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Omaima. Dr. Malak, could you add something?
Yeah, your question is very interesting. You've been asking, tell us a time in your career where you're being vulnerable, resilient, or flexible. It's actually almost every day. Every day. Vulnerability, resilience, flexibility is actually becoming increasingly a valuable skills. Although at least in our culture, we've been always, most of the time, been discouraged to show our vulnerability, but this is actually not correct. In modern workplaces, there is unpredictable thing, and changing often happen constantly. I mean, what happened now with COVID-19 is a simple example. Also, to making a substantial changes in the way we think and work and behave, you have to have this skill on a daily basis. This is true not only at work, it's actually in our personal life. Every day you have to make a realistic plan, you have to carry on this plan, will be able to manage your feeling and to be in a healthy matters, and you have to also to be confident in your strength and ability. You'll be able to adopt the change. What really amazed me that we're pretty resilient. When we were little as a kids, we fall down, we pick up ourselves up again. We did not shy from doing this. I think developing this resilience is in a very personal process, and it has to be continue and grow up with us. What I think distinguish a leader from a non-leader is the ability of us to keep us this childhood resilient habit inside us. So if we have the resilience, we can react to the stress and trauma. We can do what others see it is impossible to do. And I can give you two extreme examples. Yes. In my research work, I was forced to work with all female researchers. And as you can imagine, most of my communication actually was with males. And there was a lot of back and forth, and some people really did not have all respect for my staff or other. So really, you have not to build the resilience of myself to actually, sometimes you have to build it in your team. And that's what you have to do and tell them it's okay. And you have to do it. Now, in the other situation, now, in my other work, when I have more leadership, a more executive or a managerial skill, I'm the only female in the room. And here I have to be more flexible and try to try to show them what can I bring to the table, and how they can make them also try to be flexible to accept this changes. So as you told you, it's an everyday. I use it every day almost.
Thank you so much, Dr. Malak. That's really insightful. So for me, I'm a fresh graduate, and I'm really curious what qualities and skills were influential to your career in STEAM.
I can start here maybe. I think being an open-minded and looking for innovative ways to do things really was really key elements to me. And that's because nowadays success is really not measured by what college degree you have or what experience you have. It's about how much value you can add. And you can add value in different ways. And if you look in things from different perspectives and find innovative way to add values, whether to the work itself, to the people you work with, or to the organization, that's really a huge quality that people should be really looking at, and keep always an open mind, looking for new trends, looking for emerging technologies, for our case, for example, and try to see how would those can be fit in whatever we're doing. So I think a big part of, because we acquired a lot of really fundamental skills through our studies or work or whatever we're doing, but these skills become relevant once you use them the right way, having the right mentality and the open mind way of thinking around different and seeing things from different perspective. And I think now everything has become multidisciplinary, and all those different scientific fields start emerging in one way or the other. So learning is not really a very static process. It's a very dynamic, and keeping up with all those knowledge coming up is really very important, I think.
Interesting. So that's being open-minded and staying updated always.
Yes, and
Thank
also
you, Dr.
innovative ways to do things. Yes,
I can add to this great advice to have a commitment of a lifelong learning. This is very important. Again, to always look for a new and never stop doing things even outside your area of specialty. Now we are living in a world where is the theory of interdisciplinary really becoming a more and more important. So we really have to prepare for this. The other thing I really found it very, very useful, at least in my career, is to have a strong collaboration. We always been accused as a woman in science that we don't collaborate, but this is not true actually. I think collaboration and building your strength support and also support network is very important to you. And the other thing I also find it very useful is to have a really good communication skill, and not to be shy about it, and always try to present yourself and lean in to the table. This is what I just wanted to add.
Interesting. So that's always being open to collaborations and being committed to learning, and always, what was the last point again? Communication skills.
Had good communication skill, and always present yourself and lean in, because sometimes they will not see you even if you are around.
Yes,
absolutely. Sure. Yes. Dr. Omaima?
Yes, I would add to these wonderful advices for the starting up the careers in STEM, is also to not be afraid of challenges. Accept the challenge, even if it seems to be terrifying and dreading. Accept them and not saying no, because when you accept challenge, it opens the door. It even paves the way more for you to go on, to explore new areas, and to find yourself probably in different situations where you could flourish. Networking also. It's very, very important feature that I would advise to have networking, good communication skills, and keeping good relationship with people around you, even if you are not on the same page. Because this would really help you and support you in your future and in your leadership path. These are my 2 cents in this. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Omaima. Dr. Sumaya?
Okay, so I think, you took all the good ones, but I'm gonna try and add, my 2 cents to this. I think what we have to understand is that all these skills are extremely important, but that nobody is, like anybody else. And we sometimes fall into this kind of pitfall where we start comparing ourselves to others, measuring ourselves, and then, thinking we're not good enough or that kind of thing. And I think, a different combination of skills across, different people, that's what really makes a great team. So to add to, let's say, everything that was, I completely agree with everything that was said. The constant learning, I think, is extremely important. Facing the world with, a sense of curiosity, wonder, wanting to learn, having that always. And then my advice would also be ask stupid questions. So I think, we've always been in a room where, somebody says something and you just look around and you haven't understood it and you just think, maybe I'm the only one who didn't. And, once somebody just voices that question, everybody's like, yes, really, yes, that was exactly, what I was going to ask. And I think that's the only way to learn. Be brave, ask those questions. And when it comes to learning things, don't just keep them to yourselves. I think the best thing to do is then also actually teach to others, because it's only when you then start to kind of organize the information in your mind and you want to communicate it to someone that it becomes much clearer in a way that is then applied. Because I think in our day and age where there's so much knowledge at the click of a button, we fall into this trap where we think we could find out anything, anytime, but we don't actually retain anything. And I think once you start teaching others and you talk about these things, then, it becomes much more solid, and it kind of gets into our minds on a different level. Another thing is, I think, knowing where we are on this kind of spectrum. Are you a generalist? Are you someone who looks at things and is able to connect them? Or are you more of a specialist? Because I think that also helps, just knowing your position and place in terms of what your capabilities are, because no one of those is, right or wrong, but it's just more important to maybe just understand how we fit in so that we are really able to contribute in the best way possible. So I'll stop there. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sumaya. Thank you everyone for the great advices. I'm sure everyone has already taken notes. So the next question is, when is the time you took a risk? Did it pay off? And what did you learn? Dr. Haleema, would you like to go first?
Yeah, sure. I think I wouldn't call it risk, although it was like the uncertainty at that time was really putting me in a very difficult situation to decide. When I finished my PhD in KAUST, I had multiple offers from universities, and I really have this academic mentality. I really like to do science and publish, and like that was my passion. And then I had this offer from Saudi Aramco, and I was like, should I like people when I talk to like some professor, they would say industry will turn you into a technician. Why would you go to industry? So there was even no that much encouragement for me to go to industry. But then taking that long time in academia was for me not very correlated to the real application in the world. So I wanted really to see how does industries doing things, like the actual things, the actual products, and putting them into markets. So I took this risk and I said, it's Saudi Aramco anyway, it could never go wrong. It was one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life. And it was actually that connection to MIT, Ibn Khaldun. Aramco was sponsoring this program at this time. And you can never imagine, like I get admitted to Ibn Khaldun within 2 months, I get to Saudi Aramco. So I was like, this is the right decision. Definitely it should be the right decision. And I combined both. And I think in this dynamic world now, even the business model is emerging. So there is this, like the line between industries and academia is also blending. But at that time, when I was thinking, where should I go? There was a lot of uncertainty around it. There was no really female leaders who might really showed you the right example, this would work or not. But alhamdulillah, it was really a good decision that I learned a lot. And it opens my eyes to a different domain. So in industry, they speak business basically. And that was a totally different language for me. And then I took a lot of time to learn about doing business and how it should be done. And so it opened my curiosity to a different, really a new world. And it expanded my horizon in multiple ways. So I am really grateful for myself that time that I took this decision. And it is really one of the best decisions I've ever made.
Thank you, Dr. Haleema. Thank you for bringing this academia/industry up. It's definitely something that everyone who has a PhD has thought about this before. So I would like to invite other panelists to answer the question about the time they took a risk.
I could go, Jawaher. Sure. The time that I took a decision, alhamdulillah, it was risky at that time, but now it is, alhamdulillah, one of the blessings. When I specialized in cybersecurity, I started my master's in 2000. At that time, cybersecurity was just in its infancy. So it wasn't really known very well, and it was male dominant as a computer science at that time. So I was reading about it, and I got very interested in the subject. So when I applied for the master's at University of Manchester, and it was course-based. So when I entered the class the first time, I was the only woman among 21 men in the class. So I was really, at the beginning, I was so terrified. What did I do? Was this the right place for me? Is it the right specialization? Would I be successful in that career, being the only one among the class? Then it was actually during even the class, it was quite challenging to even blend and to get into the classmates and to do the projects and the coursework. After the first semester, when the grades was out, and alhamdulillah, I was among the first, I got it with distinction. So the table turned, and I was easily blending with everyone, and I found, alhamdulillah, an easy pathway with them. And then after that, when I did my PhD in also cybersecurity, I was among the first even in Saudi Arabia to hold it. And alhamdulillah, it was the right decision to take.
Interesting. Thank you for sharing. Dr. Malak, would you like to go next?
Yes, I will tell you something related to what Dr. Haleema said. So I decided to do my MBA in my first year of residency. And for those who don't know, medical field, residency is the first postgraduate training you do as a physician to do your specialty. So this is everybody else knows you're crazy. Your residency, it's a burden itself. So now you want to do an MBA also, so you want to take a classes at night. Yeah, I will do it. I always was curious about business and things, but they told me, this has nothing to do with medicine, really. Especially the people who know me, they know I wanted to do genetics and research. There is no business on this at all. I said, fine, I will do it. And years passed, and I took it. I did it. It was crazy. If you told me to do it again, I don't think I can do it again. I think I was young and furious to do it, but I did it. And year passed. And today, I really know that business and all this kind of education, I decided to give it to myself. Now it pay back in a good way. Now I don't have my own business, but I talk with a lot of business people. I'm trying to make medicine, the business of medicine, actually more human, to make this care available to everyone. We know now in new world, everything, including medicine, turning into business and a profit and corporatization. But the art of it, how to still make it human, will all the circumstances we have. The other things happened. I can't tell you it was a bad trade. It wasn't a risk really. So I was kind of OCD about doing everything when I was first started to do a research on my own. I just wanted to do everything on my own, from day-to-day operations to bench work to making calls and meeting everything, writing paper, everything. I don't ask for help. And then I quickly feel, come on, there is something wrong, because I just wasn't trying to do all of this, and my schedule get busier and busier. So here I practice more the art of delegation. So I started to delegate effectively and train and tell people and have a trust on the people, because the people who work with me, I chose them, I work with them. So I should have enough trust to delegate them to do even important tasks. With this, when I started to do this, the last 4 or 5 years, we won several awards as a team. We publish a lot of paper, and I believe a lot of this has to do with my ability to delegate effectively. Thank you.
Interesting. Of course, the delegation and teamwork always pays off. Thank you so much for sharing. Dr. Sumaya?
Yes, amazing stories. And I think, I mean, what Dr. Malak is saying, about, delegation and having trust, I think is one of the really hard ones to kind of let go. I think a lot of us, we tend to control things a lot. And then, whenever you kind of keep the work to yourself, and once somebody else comes along, it's like, until you see it succeed, I think, it's an amazing thing that can happen. But I think, we take risks in different ways. So there's always, I mean, when I think about risk, for me, it's a lot of the times it's more about, the idea or of failure, So, what am I risking exactly? And every turn, there's always this possibility. I'm a person who mostly says yes. So, there's always the risk of, let's say, overburdening myself. But when I also say yes to opportunities that I've never had before, or, that are completely out of my comfort zone, or even not on the radar, something that I just don't know anything about, somebody else is saying, what, we think you would be perfect for this. Would you, mind contributing? For me, I think of myself a lot of the times as, being on a peak and then looking at another peak. And to get to the next one, which is kind of my goal, I have to go down and then, through the valley and up again. And from that kind of vision on the top, I can't really see all the pitfalls, all the issues that are there. So it can become, scary at times. But, once you have that goal in mind, I think it becomes easier. So for me, it's more a matter of, calculating the risk. So instead of saying, what happens if I fail, it's so much more exciting to say, what, it would be amazing to actually reach that other peak. So actually looking at the possibility of success rather than, looking at failure. And I know once you're kind of down in the valley, it might look bleak, you could be tired, just like, I just really want to give up. But having that vision, I think is one of those drivers. So taking a risk, calculating it right, knowing our abilities to a certain extent, but then also trusting ourselves to go beyond those, because I think having that kind of opportunity for personal growth only comes when we challenge ourselves. So, and that I think is because, every risk has this kind of exciting aspect to it. Can I actually do this? And I want to prove to myself that I can. And that's what usually is the driver. So if it's risky, bring it on. I don't mind. Yeah.
Interesting. Thank you so much. That's a good way to look at it. So now our last question. What advice do you want to give for anyone hoping to have a career in STEM?
I think I can maybe start here. I think having a clear goal, what do you want exactly from a career in STEM? Are you so passionate about your science and you just want to be a scientist and pursue this career and see how things in science works, and you're so curious and compassionate about it? Or you do want to be a leader in that field and then to pursue it from a different perspective? So I think having really a clear goal about what exactly interests you, what exactly do you want, and then just keep working toward that goal. I think that's, for me at least, was really the driving force all the time to keep progressing. And I know exactly what I want to do, and I know exactly where I want to go. I can see the goal, but I am not sure about all the steps that I have to take to be there. And as Dr. Sumaya mentioned, I am on the peak, and I just want to go to the other one. I know I have to go through different challenges, but I'm willing to take this risk. And I think it goes back again to the risk areas and a lot of uncertainties around so many decisions that we may be taking. And but then eliminating all those fears, because if it's just us not knowing exactly what these uncertainties is about, it's what make us really hesitant to pursue some of our goals. So take the time to learn more about where you want to go and why exactly do you want it, and then take active steps toward it, and just build your resilience toward it. If you're really willing and wanting to win and reach your goal, then you should always have this positive mindset that Dr. Sumaya was talking about, and try to never quit. Like, it shouldn't be one of your thinking areas or aspect that quitting is an option. So I will win. I might take some time to figure out I will take this step or this next one, but I know I'm clear on my goal, and I know exactly where I want to go, and I'm just gonna do whatever it takes to reach my goal. I think that's, for me, was a big element of achieving whatever I wanted to do in my life.
I'd like to go next, actually, just because to contrast a little bit of what you were saying. So, I mean, I completely admire you, Dr. Haleema, for knowing exactly what you want, because I think for me it was a little different, thinking about, what I want, or at least I thought I knew what I wanted. So, at every step you kind of think, yes, this looks amazing. Sometimes in the middle of it, you have these doubts. So, I mean, one of the examples, for instance, was I was 3/4 down my PhD in architecture, where all of a sudden I thought, you know what, I really want to study biology. And, completely different. And it was this kind of soul-searching moment where I thought, you know what, I'm writing about ideas that have come about from the works of other people. And, and I'm commenting on it. So it's kind of, it feels like, it's not, any primary work that I was doing. And I felt at the time that, this might be insignificant, and why am I doing this? And, there's so much wonder and excitement, I think, all around us that, even just in nature. So I wanted to look at that. And I think having these moments of doubt sometimes actually help in clarifying why exactly am I not happy, with that. And so constantly questioning myself. Do I know, how I ended up here? Yes, I do know. In retrospect, did I plan to end up here? Definitely not. When I went into academia, it was all about, I really like to teach and I love research. So, those were my drivers at the time. And all of a sudden I found myself in a position where, I'm the only one with a PhD. So now you get the leadership role. And it just meant that, I couldn't do the things I love anymore as much as I wanted to. But it put me in a different position and really kind of helped me to reframe how I was able to then, let's say, use some of these skills. And you get to a certain point where you say, I'm just going to do my time, doing this. But at a certain time, you then really say, you know what, there are certain aspects that I didn't expect that I really enjoy at the moment. And so for me, it's not, I may have a long-term goal. I may have, these interim goals, but I think it's more about having the ability to have that constant question. For me, I still ask myself, what do I want to do when I grow up? And, so we ask our children and at very young ages, and we think, once you have the answer, that's it. In STEAM or STEM, I think you have to be resilient in the sense that whatever you start with may not necessarily be the thing that you end up with, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's a bad thing. It just means that we're evolving, and sometimes our clarity of what a job or discipline entails is a little foggy at the outset, but in the end, it kind of clarifies a bit more and more. So yeah, that's my kind of contrasting way of looking at it.
I mean, all great advices, and I just wanted to tell three advices that it helped me. Probably it would not help you, but it's always good to hear from people and just apply to your life what worked for you. So one of the things I learned is to ignore the pressure to pursue a different field or specialty. This happened to me twice, actually. The first time when I told my colleagues in the medical school, the internship, that I want to go and study pathology. So some of them made a joke. He said, they want, you want to be the doctor in the basement where nobody see you. Why you don't be a surgeon? I was an A student in surgery, actually. I have some, so I like surgery and stuff. No, I wanted to do this because, so there was this negative stereotyping about this specialty, which I had to change it with what I learned and I saw myself. No, today everybody asks me, I want to do your specialty. So this is the one thing, just sometimes ignore what others will push you to change your passion. So don't let their experience and sidetrack you. Let your passion, talents, curiosity, and inspiration, life mission drive your schooling and career. The second advice is really in this very competitive world, you really have to develop a strong skills to set yourself apart from other candidates. We are not, and I always tell this to parents, your kids are سيدنا علي رضي الله عنه قال أولادكم في زمن غير زمنكم. We're really competitive for it. You really have to distinguish yourself. Having a university degree will not make you stand out like what it used to be 20, 30 years ago. You really have to make yourself stand out to be competitive. For now, with the globalization, it's easy for anybody to get the job, because it's not only you, there is an entire world who are applying to this job. And now with all this online opportunities we have. And the third one is just don't be afraid to stand up for yourself. I mean, what the worst can happen? I always ask me, what is the worst can happen? If nobody will die, that's it. خلاص يعني. If nobody will die, I think it's always worth to stand up and say something or do something if you think there is something wrong.
Okay. I would actually go back to the first topic that we discussed, is about the characteristics of the leader being flexible, resilient, and vulnerable. So in my point of view, these are the three main characteristics that a leader has to embrace to have a successful path, whether it is in STEM or other discipline. And women in nature have this innate. We are flexible and we listen, we have empathy, we adapt to the situation, and we actually, our whole life is about challenges since our childhood. So we are born and we are raised up to be to face the challenges and to accept them. And we are not supposed to be not afraid of saying that we don't know, and we learn from our mistakes, and we are upfront to all the new positions, jobs, challenges that we may have. So this is my advice. It just to sum up the characteristics and the 3 points that you had just mentioned.
Thank you so much, and thank you for the insightful discussion. Now we will start the Q&A session. If you could answer our listeners' questions. Some questions were already answered, but I will share some questions like, okay, so someone is asking, should I have the leadership skills in order to be successful for someone who doesn't like leadership roles, or they're just excellent in science and research?
I can relate to that question, so I might start here. So as I mentioned previously, if you know that you want to be a scientist and that's your long-term goal, for example, so your goal is at least clear for you, and that's your passion and that's what you want to do. So you can definitely pursue this career from this perspective, and there's no push whatsoever to move you to other track, for example, to be a leader, or it's definitely your choice. As long as you're comfortable about this choice and you know exactly that this is what you want to do, you should be really pursuing it, and with all your energy and positive attitude, because it sometimes seems that people who work in science versus people who are leaders and in a managerial positions are looked at differently. But this is really doesn't mean anything when it boils down to what do you want exactly to do and achieve on your career. And there's a lot of great scientists who made a huge difference in the world, and they've never been in a like a significant leadership position. So it's all up to what you exactly really want to do and how do you choose your career path from the perspective that really suits you personally.
Interesting. Does anyone want to add anything to answer the question?
Maybe I'll just add here that, you know, when we think about leadership, it's not about necessarily the position itself, you know, a title that you get, but I think it's more about, you know, qualities that you might have. So, you know, a leader might take initiative. So, you know, you're working as a scientist, you will have to take the initiative to display that. Or let's say you're working with a team, you know, how do you manage a team of, you know, maybe conflicting ideas within your work? So I think of leadership more in relation to, let's say, skills, but not, you know, the title that might come with it. I think once you display leadership qualities, you might be, you know, potentially asked to take a leadership role. But I think, you know, having the, you know, the clarity to say this isn't for you, then, you know, maybe that's enough. But leadership qualities will serve, you know, I think even in life in general. So I don't think it's something to fear, but rather, you know, to embrace and maybe expand on.
Indeed. So leadership is not only about titles, but also about the skills. Interesting. So the second question is, how did you support your fellow female scientists, young students in the field? Did you compete due to the scarce opportunities to pioneer a local field, or build a supportive, collaborative environment?
I can take this question. I think this is one of the important points I stressed on during the talk, building be collaborative, and especially when it comes to women. I think we are women in STEAM or STEM. We still, not a lot of us in a leadership position or in a senior position. So this is our role to work together and to collaborate and take their hand. There is many things we do, starting from student in their ninth grade until a postgraduate student and fellows and resident. We can help. There is limited resources, definitely, and it's not easy to do research like before with limited funding. But I think by trying to take on your shoulder to your, I have to, who's coming after me? This is always at least what I do to myself. What in my time in this life, how many people or how many girls or boys I'm going to train to be the next leaders and next leader, and how any of them they will train the next. This is what I want to say.
Interesting, thank you.
To add to that, I think, I mean, when it comes to opportunities, they may seem scarce, but I think, you know, now more than ever, you know, if you're willing to put in the work, the opportunities are abundant. I think, you know, being, you know, from my former work in academia, I think it was much easier perhaps to help others maybe see the potential within themselves. Then it becomes a matter of, you know, we may talk about, you know, leadership position, but we're not, you know, on the ultimate top. Basically, we're somewhere in the middle. So it means that how can you make those who are just, you know, under you more visible to the ones who are just above you? You know, really showcasing, let's say, skills, creating opportunities where maybe previously there weren't any, making sure that, I think, having a right succession plan, because, you know, once you get to a certain position, you cannot move up until, you know, somebody fills your position. And, you know, do you actually qualify others to do that? And for me, I think mentorship is an extremely important aspect to it. So, you know, having people that you constantly talk to, where you give friendly advice, maybe helping, you know, steer the way, you know, to some extent, just showing them their potential. all of these are things that really do help others to get to the next level. And I think if we keep thinking that, the leadership positions are, minimal, or, there's not enough places, I think that the reality of it is completely different. There's so many areas that need qualified people who are committed to do the work. Maybe, the pie stays the same, but the roles become smaller, but it just means that we have more potential to succeed together. And having a kind of team spirit definitely helps.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Regarding that, go ahead, please.
I just want to add, one element here. I think it depends as well on which domain each person is working on. It seems sometimes natural, especially in our culture in universities, for female to progress faster in academia, for example, because it's a female universities, for example. So the opportunities is equal, and you might find some competition sometimes in the companies or in areas where there's few women. And I think that might be the question, where is it coming from? But I think it also depends on really how much do you, when you progress in your career, how much are you willing to give back to whoever wants to be really like taking this path and wherever you're working. And I think that's where it gets challenging, and people start looking as a competition to it more than a collaborative efforts to put more, for example, female scientists on the pipeline. So I think as a leader on those positions, it really make a difference. If a female leader really mentors and pave the way for other scientists to really learn at least the culture around different working environments and how it should be navigated. You might find sometimes really very successful female scientists, but not really being aware of different way of doing things, and communication skills is really key sometimes. So the mentoring part is really key, and looking for the right people to help support navigating the culture of the place and learning the norms and how to navigate is really another way of doing it. But definitely giving people opportunities and giving them visibilities is really key for any leaders who want really to, and delegation, as Dr. Malak mentioned before. If you learn how to delegate and you grow because you have more time to do important things, and you give the youngest people opportunities to learn under your supervision, so they can support you and help you really move forward with whatever task you're doing. So the mindset of looking at things is really making a difference, definitely.
Thank you. I remember once I was in a talk by former Minister Ali Naimi, and he mentioned something like, the best way to get promoted is to make your current boss looks good.
Yes.
So I definitely can relate, yeah. Dr. Omaima, you have something to share?
Yes, I would add the current shift in culture in Saudi Arabia, and with the Vision 2030, a lot of opportunities has been created for women that has not been existed before. We could say that how the shift has affected the workplace now and 5 years ago, for example, it wasn't that far. But now it is normal that you could see women in jobs and in places that you wouldn't be seeing them 5 years ago or 10 years ago. So the whole scheme, cultural, government, and all supporting women now in taking roles and leadership positions, and even higher in the ministries that we have seen, even the Shura Council. It was all male dominant, and then gradually the number of female participants are increasing now, and even in the ministry roles as well. So we are really blessed to be in this area where, or in this era where the support of women is at its flourishing actually in the kingdom. And one example of this is, as I recall, in the cybersecurity forum last year, where the Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman has announced his 2 initiatives. One of them is to support women in cybersecurity. So we are really glad and blessed to have such a support from the higher up in the government and the kingdom for women to take this such leads. I would also add to Dr. Sumaya's point in mentoring. In my perspective, mentoring is one of a crucial element in opening up opportunities for women. So mentoring, building a scheme around mentoring in terms of research or in terms of leadership, transferring knowledge and building capacity for the second, let's say the second admin. So they could actually progress toward leadership. And as Jawaher mentioned, I remember one of the notes that you have to be or you are ready to be promoted whenever a successor is ready to take your place. As long as you are there and you show that there is no one would be enough for your place, you will not be promoted. So this is the importance of mentoring and taking the hands of the people and teaching them so they grow and you will grow as well.
Thank you so much. So there's a question, how this kind of work affect your social life as a woman? Is there any trade-off or compensation you have to make as a woman in a leadership position? Yeah.
I think work-life balance is a myth that does not exist. It is actually very hard, to be honest, to be full-time at work and to be full-time at home and raising children and taking care of the family. So it is very important to have a supporting scheme at home. So that your family will help you, support you, and also you will actually support them in the sense that when you are successful, then this will be reflected back to them. So actually, we really try our best to achieve this balance, whether we succeed at some times, we fail at the other, but we are hoping that we are doing good, inshallah.
And I think I see this from a different perspective. Being a mother to two kids, really, from an early stage, I learned a lot of team skills, basically. So how to be extremely organized so I can use my time effectively. And so
Haleema, delegation.
And just don't look at it. I think it's, how do you look at it, as a problem or as, for me, it enhances a lot of skills even before I even realized. I mean, when I was doing my PhD, my kids were really younger, and but I was really effective around how I organize my time and their time. And I learned these skills from an early stage because I had to deal with them and with their schedule. And so I took it positively. I was forced to learn skills that other colleagues didn't have to. So they would spend their life in the lab, and I was very extremely, alhamdulillah, efficient and effective. So looking at the situation from a positive mindset would definitely help, instead of looking at it as a very stressful situation. You definitely learned a lot of skills to navigate your team in the home, and then just apply those skills at work. I think, especially alhamdulillah, Saudi, we have a really very supporting system. Our family are extremely supportive. There is a lot of daycares and the schools that offers after school activities if you have to stay late or whatever. It definitely puts a pressure on you as a female who have to be, we always put this guilt element on ourselves. So if I spend more time on the lab, I feel guilty because my kids are taking more time on the after school activities, but they're happy, they're doing good activities, they're learning something good. So I think it just get rid of this thinking around these areas, and you will be, you witness a lot of successful female leaders, and we navigate fine. So do not put this as a very strong element that might hinder your progress.
Thank you so much, Dr. Haleema. So we'll go to our next question. How did you deal with the publish or peer pressure as a young researcher? So maybe anyone in the academia can feel the pressure of publishing. Is this still held in Saudi Arabia? How do you deal with it?
I don't want to speak too much, but I think that's a continuous pressure that you can never get rid of. Yeah, it's a fact. It's just one of the area where we say there's a lot of uncertainty. So if you're looking into new field of science, definitely there would be a huge pressure on you. But definitely knowing that you have the right skills, you didn't reach this level without having the right tools to navigate. So just keep doing the right things and keep pursuing your goals. And I think a big element to that as well is there is nothing called good results and bad results. It's all results, and all will give you some insights that even the results that's not really positive in your perspective, it would and it might add a lot of perspective to the scientific community. So I think that goes back to the idea when I wanted to produce this chemical compound or whatever, but if along the way I might discover something completely different and something even more interesting. So just trust your skills and keep doing your science and keep, stay closely in touch with your supervisors and your colleagues and take continuous feedback. So if there is a continuous correction that can take place, but definitely do not feel that because it's an ambiguous or it's an uncertain area for you that you're working on, it would be a failure. I definitely did a lot of things that seems at the beginning very strange and no one really was willing to support, but then it turns out to be a very interesting results that was really worth publishing. So that's my perspective, or the way I dealt with it.
Interesting. Thank you for sharing. So this is the end of our webinar, Beyond the Ordinary, Careers in STEAM. Thank you to our speakers, and thank you, Dorothy and Nadia, for organizing this talk, and thank you to Professor Kamal for being with us here today. Finally, thank you all in the audience for being here and sharing your questions with us. We have more webinars planned this fall. You can find the information at ibk.mit.edu or on our Twitter. Have a good evening.
Thank you so much. Thank you.